Hello, MotoAmerica fans. This is Paul Carruthers. I'm the communications manager for MotoAmerica. To my left or right, depending on how you look at it, I've got Sean Bice, who's my co-host on Off Track with Carruthers and Bice. And down below, we've got Troy Herfoss, who's in an intense battle for Mission King of the Baggers title aspirations. He's 2 points behind Sean going into our last round here at
Wow.
New Jersey Motorsports Park. 2 points is basically the same as zero in this because
Right.
you don't get 2 points apart until you're pretty far down the order. And these two haven't been that far down the order the entire year. So his battle with Kyle Wyman, I look at it as basically a winner take all type deal. And those two guys have, at least in the latter part of the season, been the two guys to beat, race in, race out. So Troy, I know you're camping out in your trailer there, and you decided to stay in Austin for a few extra days, huh?
Yeah, I just want to keep things simple. Yeah, Austin's a great city and nice and warm and good place to be outdoors training. And yeah, just not doing a lot. I contemplated going over to Vegas to watch the Super Motocross, and I thought, you know what, I'm not on holidays. I need to keep the head down for a few weeks and yeah, make sure I go into New Jersey with the best chance possible.
Tell us a little bit about, I mean, this is your first year in Moto America, right? And it seems to me that you've it feels like you've been here forever, honestly, but it seems
It
like you,
does.
you you've put yourself in a position where you're people like you and you're a popular guy in the paddock, and I think you're enjoying yourself and you're enjoying the people and you're enjoying the racing and you're enjoying the series. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, when you think back to when the three of us caught up at the start of the year, like I was just sort of like a kid at Christmas time, right? I'm waiting to work out what it's all going to be about, and the racing and the paddock, and now I'm here. I'm just like, I can't believe how much fun it is. It's just so much fun, and fully bought into the King of the Baggers dream. I'm loving that, loving the bike, loving working with the team. It's just all exciting, and yeah, it's coming down to crunch time now. So yeah, the last two rounds have been tight, and points have closed right up. And yeah, I think Kyle and I both had our ups and downs as the year's gone on, and we're coming into the final round both in our best shape. So it's all shaping up to be a great finale. And honestly, this is everything I could have dreamed of. I've won a couple of championships in my time, and they've all been nail biters, basically all but one. And yeah, it's an exciting time of year that the nerves sort of set in at Coda for me. The reality of the championships there, and it's a great feeling. Yeah, you never feel more alive than when the pressure's on and you've got to start winning races.
I was gonna ask you, but you sort of answered that. But you have been in a battle like this that's gone to the very end in your championships or non-championship
Yeah,
years?
so yeah, last year I think we were equal going to the last round, and um, myself and Josh Waters were equal. I'm pretty sure. But I know it was a winner take all. If it wasn't equal, it was 1 point, and yeah, and that was exciting. Um, yeah, a couple of years ago, I battled with Troy Bayliss. Actually, he made a comeback, and that was the only year that I won the championship with a points gap. But the two previous times before that, yeah, my first championship, I think I was down by a couple of points in the last race and got it. And yeah, it's always tight. Even my race victories this year, I've had a couple of wins where I've been ahead by a second or so, and man, that's so rare for me. It's usually tense on the way to the finish line. I always joke that if I win the race, I'm going to win it as slow as possible
That's a
and
good
as safe as
idea.
possible.
So, all things considered, Troy, is this as intense as any championship you've ever been in?
Yeah, yeah, it is for sure. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like obviously the depth in the King of the Baggers, we all dream of having full fields, but the reality is like there's still two guys going for it. Um, every time we go on the track, we're really close, and I certainly can't go into a race knowing for sure I've got it over Kyle. Like I don't know how he feels generally, but there hasn't been a race I've started this year where I haven't thought to myself that. Um, potentially I'm not good enough to win this race. So it's always it's always tough. Yeah, probably more so than ever that with from the manufacturer side of things. Like you got two big dogs going against each other, all American companies, and they want nothing more than to beat each other. So yeah, it's a pretty exciting place to be in, really.
I mean, you always race if you're in a team, you're also racing for the team as well as yourself. But this seems like a whole nother level of team because the rivalry between the two companies is so intense. Does that is that add a bit more pressure?
Yeah, it does. That's what's so exciting. Everyone on the team's so invested um, in beating the other. Um, yeah, and I haven't been part of a team of this size. There's 20 people in our garage all weekend long, and they all want the best for Tyler and I. And yeah, it's sort of like I said, it's a great place to be in, and yeah, I'm super fortunate that I've been able to get to this point of the year and be racing for a championship. Like I definitely come here. That's what I wanted to do. But obviously coming into the championship, I had no idea where I stood. So yeah, it's sort of been a funny year. Coda was a lot of fun for me, just in the fact that I knew the track and I could roll out a pit lane and fully focus on my competitors, myself, and not just trying to learn a track and get to the start line, knowing every bump on the track. So it's sort of, I guess, the years flown by for that reason. Like I just every weekend is a bit of a blur for me. You're just constantly fighting the urge to compete against another rider, but you can't do that because you've got to try and learn the track and focus on your own things. Whereas at home in Australia, if we're racing for the same team and the same tracks for years and years, there was so much less to think about. I could just go into the weekends and sort of keep a good eye on the competitors and focus on racecraft and just that kind of stuff. Whereas this year's been more about just get to the start line with as much speed and consistency as possible, and then work out the way the other guys race when the race starts. Really, so yeah, it's all good fun.
When you
Yeah,
roll into a new place, sorry, Sean. When you
that's all
roll
right.
into a new place like New Jersey and you haven't been there, do you do you have some settings from from Tyler that you start with, like gearing and things like that? And then when you roll out on the track, is it just seems like it would be so difficult. Everyone's immediately up to speed because, they've been there and they know the place. And then you're trying to go fast, but you can't go too fast, obviously, because you're trying to learn the place. Does it take a session or is it longer?
It's so I always get help from Tyler's side of the garage and Jeremy's data from last year. So gearing and stuff's always in the ballpark. Um, that it takes about 3 or 4 flying laps before like I feel like I can sort of go to the same braking marker and not be sort of on off and looking around a bit. After sort of like 4 laps, like it's like for a rider that's been like it's how do you for a professional rider, I guess, like yeah, it's pretty easy to get to within 2 seconds, right? On any bike, on any track. But then that's when the hard work starts. So it's like it's sometimes you got to be in the right frame of mind. You get out on track, right, and you've got 20-minute session that might be 12 laps, say. It's so easy after 3 laps to see the lap time that's still 3 seconds off, and you sort of crack it for a lap and you slow up, and then you get back into it again and you break your rhythm. If you just sort of park the lap time in the first session and just like I always just start on the hardest rear tire no matter what. So I'm definitely not going to be fast anyway, and I just don't look at the lap timer until sort of lap 5 or 6, and just try and leave as much as I can to my imagination, so that when I finish that first session, I'm like, okay, I was on the hard tire. You know,
Right.
I wasn't committed. I didn't put my head down for 1 lap. Try not to get sucked into riding behind another rider, because as soon as you sort of like go to your limit and try and follow someone, and then you don't see the lap time you thought you should have, it's kind of hard to keep pushing on from there. So it's like I said, it's always a fine line between like being competitive against other people and then just doing your own thing. But then once you come to Saturday morning, I always feel like I can sort of um, yeah, take that next step, download all the information overnight. into my small brain, and then start again the next day.
Troy, you pointed out that we had a rare situation this year in the fact that, well, for you, but for everybody, you guys raced a second round at Circuit of the Americas. But the difference was between the first round and this round, they repaved the track a little bit. So give us your assessment. Did it improve the track? There were a lot of records broken. You guys went faster than you did at the last round. So that kind of gives a testament to it. But did it feel much different, or was it the same?
It felt a lot different down the back straight. That's the only time I could really remember the bumps being really bad. So that was definitely better. Um, the actual grip of the track, like the last turn, didn't feel as grippy. Um, yeah, honestly, it didn't feel like I had more grip than the start of the year. We've definitely, for me personally, I've come a long way since the start of the year. Like just getting comfortable on the bike and sort of making that bike sort of more customized to me, I guess, with chassis and suspension stuff. So like I knew based on how I was riding the bike, I was going to be faster than last year, but I didn't think the qualifying lap would be in the 13. So that was cool. And I think in the race we actually were more competitive with the super sport bikes than usual. So maybe the baggers are coming along a little bit in development, but you'd have to imagine the track was definitely more grippy than last year, especially because I mean those superbike lap times were really fast.
Yeah, to your point, I mean, JD Beach went like 191 miles an hour, and it's interesting on that track because that's speeds that are comparable to Road America, where it's a 4-mile track. The thing about the Coda track is it's obviously got some good straightaways, but it also has these crazy turns that are right back on themselves. And I have to tell you, turn one, I've never been on the track, I've never raced. I hate turn one. It drives me nuts. It's like
Yeah,
it's so wide on the outside, but everybody has to go into that little acute angle on the inside, and sometimes you go over the curb. It seems counterintuitive to me that a track would be that way. And I get it might be okay for cars, and it's the same for everybody. I understand that, but is that turn weird for you?
it's really weird. Yeah, because it's just literally around like it's like someone just put a little cone out there, and you do a
Yes.
U-turn around it. So it sets up for like some really big block passes, because like if you got someone swerve around the back of the corner. I mean, for example, I was following Rocco in race one, and from a distance I could see his line choice, and like the way he was approaching the corner versus the way I approach it, there was a point where we were meeting at like a crazy angle, and like imagine on the start line how easy stuff can go wrong there. So it's a weird corner, and it's funny when you watch it on TV, you wonder why the GP guys approach it like quirky, and there's so many different line choices, but it's because there literally is so many ways to approach it, because the exit sort of, there's no real need to be inside or outside on the exit because you've got enough time to get back across anyway. So yeah, it's a really weird corner. I think it'd be better if it was, sort of more of a double apex, I guess, corner. I don't know. It's it sort of, it definitely, it stretches the race out really quickly, doesn't it? Because you come out of turn
Hmm.
one and everyone's already into their position. So yeah, it's a funny track. It's so big, but it's really one lined all the way down to turn 10 hairpin, or turn 11 is it? I can't remember what number that turn is, but yeah, it's a funny track.
And you
Really
have
fun
to,
to ride, but
those corners you have to approach differently whether you're in the lead or not, right? Or if you have a lead,
yeah, I
because
mean, especially
otherwise you
like
got to go up the inside or you're
yeah,
gonna.
especially with the baggers, because they're such short races. You get to the front and you've got your ride completely different based on how close, or what your plan is. But it's sort of, yeah, especially with these bikes that I'm riding, the baggers have got so much torque. You can just close all the corners up and point and shoot however you like, really.
Okay, so this, I mean, you had a mini slump like Brainerd time, it seems like, where everything was going great and then it kind of wasn't. But your isn't great, is still pretty good compared to everybody else, fortunately. But a lot of people don't realize, like, you went a long time without having your crew chief.
Yeah.
I know you said you were going back to Australia to find your balls, but I think you went back to Australia and came back with new hope because you had some familiar help. Is that true?
Yeah, look, yeah, it's been hey, I chose to come here and race, so I don't have to have any excuses. So, but it's been, an adjustment, I guess. Um, Flying in and flying out, learning how to get to the track, where the track is, where sign on is. There's all this stuff you go through, right? And then my crew chief Charlie got yeah, didn't get let into the country for round two onwards, so I didn't have a crew chief as such, and then the team was sort of, we're trying to work things out, and one weekend I'd have someone as a sort of an alias, like a standing crew chief, chatting with Charlie at home, and then the next weekend I'd have someone different, and it was just, there was a little bit of a lack of consistency there, just through the circumstances we got put in. No real fault of the team, but just the circumstance we're in, and then yeah, yeah, I just I just had a rough run through the middle. Honestly, I got sick, and then I fell over it. I crashed at Ridge, and it wasn't that bad of a crash, but I landed in a little hole and winded myself, and then 3 days later I was in hospital, MRIs on my neck, and I had a vertebrae, like a small compression in the top of my neck, and at Laguna I was like, yeah, I was dealing with that, and then I literally fell over in practice and tried to pick the bike up and done something to my neck again, and oh man, it was just like I was just starting to, my list of excuses were getting bigger and bigger. I just, and then I honestly, I just yeah, I sort of, it's like at Laguna I almost gave up, like as in, not giving up on hope, but like in that particular race I crashed in, I was just following Rocco around. I'm like, look, just get out of here with fourth. Like, I just didn't feel good. I was sick. My neck was hurting. I didn't feel like, I felt like we were sort of at a bit of a disadvantage of that track. I was struggling um, to match the other guys, and I was like, I'll just get out of here. And man, I come onto that back straight, like last right hand corner, and I must have just like tucked the front a little bit on the curve, and then that touched the edge of the curve, and then all of a sudden I'm on the ground before I knew it. And yeah, it was just it was a rough time for stuff to start to go wrong, like being sick, and then the crash in Ridge, and and then I done the replacement ride on the superbike as well, which was, it was probably in hindsight a lot to take on. Um, but how do you pass up an opportunity like that, right? So
Right.
but it was hard just to rock up to Brainerd, and hi, I'm Troy. He's yeah, I borrow a suit off Corey Alexander from the year before that's 10 times too big, and jump on a bike I've never seen, and a track I've never
Wow.
seen, and you just go and start riding. And yeah, so there was a lot of factors really, and but anyway, got through that, and yeah, getting back to Mid Ohio with Charlie, and getting a test on the bike before that, which was our first test. It was my first test since before Daytona. So it was nice just to go and ride the bike with the team and spend a day, um, just figuring out little things that you don't get to do when you're at a racetrack, trying to learn. And yeah, it's funny at the track, isn't it? You don't, you try some stuff, but you got to be real careful. And especially for me, when I'm learning most of the tracks as I go, I can't get caught up trying too many different things with the bike, because it sort of takes away from me learning the track.
One of the things I want to point out, Troy, is you, as much as any writer I've ever known, you will give us these insights, and you make sure to say, not excuses and that kind of stuff. But I do want to underscore the fact that when you tell us this kind of stuff, it's so great for the fans to understand that, because people don't know what you guys go through in a season, on the bike, issues with the bike, the situation with the crew chief, getting sick. I mean, all this stuff helps us to understand what goes into a season like you've had. And it's not all sweetness and light the entire time. In the grand scheme of things, with the championships you've had, has this been has there been to use Tyler O'Hara's term about adversity, have you had more adversity this year than you've had in any other championship you've had, or is it about par for the course what you deal with?
It's all on par, I think. Like yeah. There's always stuff going on. Last year, we had a winter break, and 2 days into it, I crashed my dirt bike and broke 8 ribs in my collarbone, and no one would have even known that happened. Really, I could have got away with it because we were back on the bike 2 months later, and I was fine. But that wasn't even my only injury last year. Like there's always something going on with riders. Like you just never know what people are going through. Like I could sit here and and think about my main competitor, Kyle Wyman, and he lives here and it's so much easier for him. I don't know what he's going through. He's probably got his own little quirks and injuries and stuff with the bike, and we're all going through stuff, right? You look in the superbike class. I'm sure Cambobier has been going through hell coming back from his injury. Jake Gagne's now on the sidelines. Like there's all these guys with little injuries that they sort of never really tell you about until they have to. And yeah, you don't want to sound like a broken record if you start talking about all the things that are tough. Yeah, it'd get the list to go on and on because that's what racing is tough, right? It's a fun sport, but there's a lot that can go wrong. So yeah, this year hasn't been any worse than any other year. It's just been different things to sort of learn as the year goes on, and that's why I'm probably grateful that I'm a more senior rider. Really, sort of things that probably worried me 20 years ago or 10 years ago don't sort of worry me much as now as they did before. So yeah, and then it helps I've got a good team around me. So the bike's always ready, the team's always supportive. Um, yeah, it's all really rock solid. So there's not a lot to think about other than go ride a motorbike.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something about Kyle. So I found this out at COTA. So Kyle this year decided that he was going to plant a garden, and Rochester, his area, they get quite a bit of rain, and it's been an extremely dry. It's very dry in Ohio where I am. It's very dry in Rochester, and his garden's not doing well, Troy. So
We'll see.
he's pretty upset about that. I mean, the plants are
Hey,
dying.
when you're I've been emotionally invested into my lawn at home too, and I accidentally killed that last year, and it was traumatizing when
Yeah.
you roll into your house and it doesn't look as good as it should. That can affect your mental health.
Yeah, it's bad for him. So he's really fighting that, but he'll do what he has to do going into and Troy, this. New Jersey Motorsports Park, he considers it one of his home tracks, not just because it's not too far from where he lives, but also with the Yamaha Champion School, he's done a lot of laps there. But we're going into that track with a new surface, so we're going to see what that's all about. You've ridden on a lot of tracks this year that have new surfaces. I mean, Mid Ohio, MotoAmerica isn't that old. Obviously COTA, and now New Jersey is going to be brand new. We did a lot of repaving for you this year to come into this country.
Yeah, I feel fortunate that you guys stepped your game up knowing that I was coming.
We knew you had all those quality Australian tracks to compare
Yes.
to.
Exactly.
Yes.
Every
Yes.
track's like Phillip Island in Australia.
Yeah. So I think one of the advantages, it's not an advantage you're going to have, but it's not going to be such a big disadvantage, is the fact that I think local knowledge of a track is more about where the bumps are than the grip.
Exactly. Yeah.
And from what I've heard, the grip at New Jersey isn't anything special, but they've done away with the bumps. So I think as far as somebody knowing the track more than you, at least their local knowledge of bumps won't come into play. So that might be helpful.
Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be what it'll be. We're a bunch of racers, and we all figure it out really quick anyway. So yeah, I haven't really thought about that side of things really. It's just I've thought about going out with my hard tire in session one and doing my consistent run and getting a good sleep Friday night and doing the same thing I always do. It's pretty basic really. Like we overcomplicate motorbike racing a lot, don't we? But
Right.
I'm just going to roll out in the exact same bike I rode at COTA.
Yeah.
It's working well, and we'll change the gearing, and Like yeah, it's easy. It's so easy to overcomplicate things. And the track surface, the new surface. Do we anticipate that and we change the setting of the bike? Is it? Yeah, you get yourself all hyped up over these little things, and then you go out in the first session, and Kyle Wyman's 3 seconds a lap faster than me, and it's like a big slap in the face. So I just got to remember that no matter what, he's probably going to bring his A game, and I got to expect the best Kyle Wyman there is, and know that if I go through my processes, I'm as good as him. So yeah, just got to hopefully get some consistent laps. Like it'd be nice to get dry laps at some stage before the races, but it'll be what it'll be. And these bikes are so quirky to ride. Like it's yeah, I you don't have to be the fastest guy on the track to win the race. You just need to have track position. So yeah, we'll see what it'll be. What it'll be.
I've been impressed, actually kind of disappointed because I'd like a good dust up every once in a while, but it doesn't seem like you and Kyle. I see. I mean, there's a little tension there because there has to be, right? I mean, it's man against man at this point. But overall, I think there's just maybe just such a general a lot of respect between you two, so that it doesn't turn into anything else. Is that kind of how it feels?
Well, I like in my opinion that the if you don't have respect for the people you're racing against, you leave yourself wide open to be beaten. So yeah, I've got a lot of respect for Kyle, and for that reason, I've studied what he does and studied how he rides, and that's just what you do. Like yeah, you show respect to your competitors, because otherwise you leave yourself wide open to be blindsided. Really.
Yeah, this is like back in high school. I'm passing notes back and forth, but I will tell you, I talked to Kyle at Coda in the media center, and I just flat out asked him. I said, "You get along well with Troy?" He goes, "I really like him." I mean, he said that. I mean, it's genuine with him. So, but it's you see his face in those press conferences. I asked him about it in Mid Ohio. I'm like, what's going on with you? You're not smiling, and it's like I get what is going on. So with that in mind, I want to ask you something. You are a three-time Australian national superbike champion, the pinnacle of your racing in your on your continent, in your country. So if you win this King of the Baggers championship in MotoAmerica, where does that sit with your championships? It can't quite rise to the level of being an Australian national championship champion, or can it?
Look, it does mean a lot to me. It's not I've always known it's not easy to go to another country and be competitive. Like I've had guys come to Australia from other championships and try and race, and it's hard. So for that reason, I feel like I feel like it's quite an accomplishment to come and race for a championship in the King of the Baggers, and it will be up there with the highlights of my career, to be honest. It's a national championship. It's a proper factory team, couple of factory teams racing each other, and Kyle's a very good superbike rider. He's an all round good rider. So yeah, I'm racing with top level guys on top level equipment, and yeah, although they don't look like they should be raced that fast, they're still high end racing bikes. So yeah, I'm literally yeah, I'm all in. Oh, it's the same level of respect as I show to a superbike, and just try and get the job done.
That's
So,
great.
win or lose, are we gonna have you back next year, or do you not know?
I I hope so. Yeah, I hope I'm enjoying it. I want to keep doing it. Um, yeah, it's a lot of fun. I love racing.
Are you enjoying the hooligans as well? I mean,
I am.
it's a bit
I
more
am.
difficult for
Yeah,
you.
I had a bit of bad luck there. We didn't ride the bike a lot because it less rounds, but at Coda we actually tried a lot. We pretty much turned the bike not upside down, but we changed a lot, and it just felt a lot more comfortable to me. I actually really enjoyed it on the weekend. So yeah, I'll see what happens for next year. I'm happy with what I'm doing right now, and um, yeah, I'm not gonna sort of like aim for any particular class. I just want to enjoy the rest of the year, and I'm sure when you're winning races, people want you to keep racing. So I'll try and keep winning races.
What was it like to have that third teammate, Jeremy McWilliams, back in there, and did he help lead to the changes in the bike a little bit?
No, we for the changes we made a plan before the weekend to change the bike, and but having him there was so good. He's a breath of fresh air. Honestly, he's super motivated. He's thoughtful. He he um he really thinks about it a lot. He's hands on with the bike. He was definitely what we needed in the team, really. Especially I think for Tyler, I could tell with Tyler he just looked more comfortable um, around the weekend, and he's fast, right? Like he
Yeah.
rolled out of pit lane and he was the fastest. I think one of the fastest in first practice.
Yes.
And then, honestly, going into Sunday morning, we needed him up there, and and after warm up, like I thought to myself, he's just not quite. He's just a few tenths off. Like he's not going to be able to quite go in the battle. And
Yeah.
then look what happens in the race. Like he just finds like time. He just finds time, right? Like yeah, it,
Yeah.
it was it was really impressive to watch. Like I was out of that race and in pit lane, and like, I'm watching him figure things out as the race goes on, and he's risking it. He's having like,
Oh yeah,
he
he's
wasn't
all
out there
in.
making up the numbers. That guy was out there to race, and, like, yeah, it was pretty impressive.
It's impressive with his age just blows me
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just keeps doing it.
But
Troy,
honestly,
how
he's full of energy all week long.
yeah.
He's not having a rest and
No.
laying down at the back. Like, if he's not on the bike, he's working on the bike. Like, he's really hands-on. He wants to see what's going on with the bike, and, like, he wasn't just keeping to himself, and he was talking to Tyler's side, my side, and like ideas with this and throttle openings and how everything, like, really fine line stuff. And yeah, you can see why he's such a valuable guy to have around. One,
Yeah.
he's still fast, he's super experienced, and he can get straight to the limit of a bike really easy. So it was really refreshing to have him around.
What did happen to you in that race, Troy?
We had I'm not good enough technically, but something electronic.
Okay.
A wire, literally a cable tie broke, and a wire got burnt, and the bike cut out.
Mhm.
Okay. Boy, it seems like a lot of times it's electrical, and that's one of those things they have those gremlins. I mean, at what uh who am I trying to say? What am I Tyler. Sorry, Tyler at Ridge had a problem electrically with his bike, and it's been a couple things that have happened, and those are tough to chase and deal with, so it's hard to figure it out, but that's a bummer for you. I want to ask you about the bagger's bike. How much have you changed or that bike, or has the bike changed this year in the course of this season and championship?
It's changed. It's changed a little bit. Yeah, we got. I think we changed the bike geometry wise, but
Right.
actual parts for the bike. Yeah, we got a swing arm.
He's frozen. Are you frozen? Maybe it's me.
In the year,
You're
yeah,
good.
back when my visa was getting done, I missed a test at Mid Ohio. I can't remember when it was, what month, but that was when I should have tested and moved on to it. So I didn't move on to the swing arm until I had Charlie here, and we tested it before Mid Ohio. But that was a change to the bike, like a wholesale change. But other than that, it's been pretty well the same bike, and we're just sort of changing geometry really to make me feel comfortable.
As far as changes go,
So
and this
nothing.
back up a little bit. Did you make many changes to Cameron's superbike when you rode it, or did you just
No,
kind of you just rode it as his bike?
no, I just rode. I just went in and rode, and I didn't ask for any changes really. Sort of by Sunday morning, I was getting a little bit frustrated. I couldn't quite get what I wanted out of it. But I also started to understand what they were throwing down at me too. It's more about understanding how the bike wants to be ridden than changing the bike for me. I think these days super bikes as well. It's about learning what the bike needs and how it needs to be ridden with electronics, And but definitely that bike was set up. It was set up. It seemed to be set up a bit biased to the rear. You need to put a lot of load to the front of the bike, and it made it. It wasn't so easy for me to get up to speed on, because it needed a lot of force through the front of the bike to get it to steer properly. And when you go to a brand new track on a brand new bike with a brand new team, and then
Yeah.
and I didn't even know going into Brainerd that it was apparently such a quirky track, low grip. Like, I didn't know none of that. After I crashed the bagger 3 times, people start telling me, "Oh yeah, the grip shit at this track." Oh well, I could have wish I'd have known that. Like, yeah. So
Right.
by Sunday afternoon, I'd learned a lot, and then Sunday on the superbike didn't go great. I had a couple of things with the bike that were sort of funny, and at that point, I just needed to finish the races, and it was made pretty clear, don't crash the bike, and so
Oh,
instead I crashed my bagger 3 times instead of the
You're making out
superbike.
for it.
Yeah.
that's a tough track. I want to ask you about the ambitious young fellow in your series, Rocco Landers, a phrase you've coined about him. What do you think of his progression this year? You think about where he was at Daytona to where he is now. I mean, he won a race at COTA. So what do you think of how he's done this year in that whole thing?
I think he's done great. It's like talking earlier about going through your processes and sticking to your plan on race weekends. Like, that strikes me as a kid that's got his head screwed on right, and he's he understands he's going to be fast enough eventually, but he's just going through the processes. And I think he's just made a really solid progression. He's got literally better every round, and now he's in a position where there's only a couple of things he needs to improve to be, rock solid every race, really. I'm sure he learned a lot over the weekend, both winning the races and then battling in the race too. He would have learned a lot. So he's he's definitely, yeah, if not the boy, yeah, he's probably going to be the biggest threat. Going into next year, you can only imagine if he keeps progressing, it's going to be a championship fight. He's going to have his eyes on racing for a championship. So that's if he goes that direction next year. I don't know what his plans are with racing, but I imagine he looks like he's having a lot of fun on the bagger. So I can't imagine he's going to want to get off it.
Yeah, and the thing, I don't want to make this all about Rocco, but I do want to ask you this, Troy, just because he's still 19 years old and he's an enigma. We know that. I mean, he's different. The one thing I can't figure out with Rocco is, does he have racecraft? Does he? And I don't mean it this way, but does he know what he's doing? Is it feel with him? Is it seat of the pants? Does he actually understand the craft of racing and what he needs to do to get to the front? I don't know. Because I don't race. How do you answer that?
Yeah, like I think that the main thing I want to point out with Rocco is that, like, it looks like he's loose on the bike, and people comment that he's on the edge a lot. I don't think he is. Like, he's so comfortable on the bike. He's so relaxed, and the bike moving around him doesn't bother him. And when you see, like, I watched the whole race behind him, he was loose the whole time, but he didn't miss an apex all but once. I seen him make one mistake the whole race. So, like, I think he's completely in control and knows how to put the bike where he wants to put it, and I think he's rock solid in that area. I do think that racecraft, the bag is a different beast too. It's so heavy. Like, I think that he's probably, I'm pretty confident that he's overriding the bike in some areas, especially when he's got to try and chase. But then when he was out front and he could do his own thing, he's got it all under control. So there's always stuff you can work on, and same for me. Even I'm not talking about just Rocco as a young kid. We're all the same. We're all working on stuff all the time. But yeah, I think he's probably the whole package. He's the thing I like about Rocco is his own person. He doesn't care what people think of him. He's a really polite person. He's super respectful, but he's also very confident in his own ability, and that's admirable, I think.
Yeah, that's a good assessment of him. I feel the same way. All these years I've been hanging around Paul Carruthers, I've still never been able to understand a lot about Australia and Australians. And one of the things about it is this idea that, I think if I'm right, we're going into the fall Australia's going into the spring. So I think you are the defending Australian Superbike national champion. Am I right?
Correct. Yeah.
Are you going to defend your championship in your home country during our off season, your Superbike season?
No, that championship's midway through. It's only got 2
Oh,
rounds to go now. So
okay.
yeah,
I don't know how that works with you guys. So you guys do race while we race then?
yeah, we
Okay.
race the whole year round. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't understand that. So did you give up? You gave up that to race in baggers?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I've done a couple of rounds this year, with a Ducati Superbike team in Australia, and done some testing with the team, and hopefully I'll do at least the last round of the year, which is November, and trying to hopefully do the weekend after New Jersey even. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. And yeah, I still love riding the Superbike. It gives me a lot of enjoyment. I got to race with the #1 plate this year, which was fun. Um, yeah, if I can do some Superbike riding in the off season, that'd be cool as well.
That's not easy to walk away from a #1 plate like that. I mean, I know you've been able to use it a little bit, but I didn't realize that it was running concurrently to ours. So that's not an easy thing. That's a big testament to what this series means to you, this King of the Baggers.
Yeah, I wanted to change, and I wanted to step outside my comfort zone. So I'd been doing the same thing for 10 years, same team and same championship, and I loved it, loved every minute of it. But just wanted to do something different while I'm still young and enthusiastic.
Young.
Have you gotten a sense of are you being followed in Australia in King of the Baggers? Is it elevated itself in your country?
Yeah, I'm sure that it has. Yeah, yeah, I'm sure that hopefully some of the young kids racing in Australia are sort of thinking that maybe this is a path to get to MotoAmerica. I mean, I was lucky enough to race a superbike this year, and that only come from my results on a bagger. It didn't come from my results in the Australian Superbike. So yeah, I think it's inspired a couple of young guys to maybe look at trying to come out here. I mean, we nearly had Max Stouffer as my teammate at Coda. He's a talented young Australian, up in the top 5 of the Superbike series, and unfortunately he crashed and broke some ribs in an Australian Superbike race the weekend before. So yeah, like I hope I can open the door for a couple of young Aussies to get over here. And I mean, this championship's so healthy at the moment, right? It'd be nice to have some more international flavour in here.
And I do get, I mean, every Sunday night there's Australians wanting photos and information from our races now, which we didn't have last year. So we can thank you for that.
Yeah, I've created a small bit of work for you. That's good.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I can start saying some really dumb stuff and attracting some other attention if you like. Or,
Well, we're always open to that.
yeah, I know you keep saying that. Yeah.
Troy, I have to tell you, Paul kids with me all the time because I can't tell you how many times during a weekend when I'm talking about a rider and I go, I love that guy. And Paul's like, you love every guy, and I do. But I mean, you fit in so well. And when when I was younger, my dad used to have this phrase about you can't help but like that guy. And you are that person with your smile, your candor with explaining things to us, and the joy that you have in riding and everything, and how you get along in the paddock. I mean, it's terrific to have you in here, and it really underscores the fact that it is called MotoAmerica, but it is a global series, and we love having riders from other countries come in here and kind of show us what it's like. So it's great to have you around, and I hope you continue for several years with us. And I know you're in an RV right now, but I don't know. You probably won't ever consider living in the US, will you?
I mean, I wouldn't count out the idea. I mean, I love home, but
Right.
yeah, I've got a couple of good years left in me. I think I still want to race motorbikes, and I think I've got something to. I think I've got a place in this championship, whether it's King of the Baggers or wherever it is. So yeah, I'd consider whatever it takes to win races and championships. If it means living here, then that's what it means. And yeah, while I'm still at the top of my game, I'm open to anything really.
It's great.
Are you good, Sean?
I am good. You are healthy going into this round in New Jersey, Troy. Everything is feeling good about you, or do you have some things? Anything? Listen,
No,
I'm not
I
asking
haven't
for
been.
excuses. Yeah.
No, I haven't been in this good a shape for a long time. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I can't think of any reason why I shouldn't win. But
Okay.
we're humans, so things go wrong. But
And he doesn't
I'm
have
not a
access.
robot.
He doesn't have access to a dirt bike, so we can keep him safe
Yeah,
that way too.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
I
right.
know how to crash them pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, Troy. Well, thanks for joining us again, and obviously we'll see you 10 days or so.
Won't
So
be long. Yep.
Yeah,
you have
looking
a
forward
good
to it.
time. Keep training for that marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you keep training too. You out on the bike and running.
I'm-
I'm watching you on Strava every time you upload. So
I know. I'm
That's
trying.
good.
I'm trying for an old guy.
yeah, got to
All
keep the
right.
dream alive.
All right, boys. You take care. We'll see you soon.
See you
See you
guys.
guys.